Dear students, warm greetings to all of you. I hope you all are in the best of your health. Once again, you all are welcome for your English literature class. Dear students, today in this English session, we are going to study about a very interesting topic of your English literature textbook. That is chapter number 7, The Invention of Vita, Wonk, which is written by Roald Dahl. So dear students, before we begin with the lesson, I request you all to please open your textbook and take out page number 99. Write down the date, day and class work on the top of it. Now let us know about the aims and objectives of learning about this lesson. The objectives are to enable the students to read, write, speak and understand English, to make them familiar with the invention made by Mr. Willy Wonka, to enable them to develop thinking skills and imagine imaginary stories, to motivate them to write imaginary stories, to make them familiar with new words and phrases, to enable them to use new words and phrases in their practical life, and to make them familiar with different kinds of trees and living things. Now let us know about the introduction of the chapter. An inventor whose name was Willy Wonka invented Wonka White, which made people younger. However, it turned out to be a failure because it made Oompa Loompa, who was volunteering for the testing of the product, so young that his age went into minus, meaning that he had to wait to be reborn. Hence, it was concluded that the product was too strong. Willy Wonka had to invent something else. After racking his brain, he came up with a new invention, which was Vita, Wonk. Now, let us know in brief about the writer of the story. The writer is Roald Dahl. He was born on September 13, 1916, Llandaff, Wales, and he died on November 23, 1990, Oxford, England, British writer, and he was a popular author of ingenious, irreverent children's books. Roald Dahl was a British author who penned 19 children's books over his decades-long writing career. In 1953, he published the best-selling story collection, Someone Like You, and married actress Patricia Neal. He published the popular book James and the Giant Peach in 1961. Dear students, let us know about the summary of this lesson. Mr. Willy Wonka invented a medicine, Wonka White. Being too strong, it has made some people disappear because their age becomes minus. After taking this, there is a rapid decrease in age. Some people have disappeared because their age has reached in minus. No person actually becomes minus 87, which means he has got to wait 87 years before he can come back to his original form. Mr. Wonka must invent a new thing to reverse these changes. He decides to search for a new recipe to invent new medicine. Mr. Willy Wonka starts his research for the new medicine by asking himself two questions. What is the oldest living thing in the world? What lives longer than anything else? He came to the conclusion that the bristlecone pines that grows upon the slopes of Wheeler Park in Nevada, USA, had lived longer than anything else. After collecting materials from the oldest tree, he began by collecting special items from all the oldest living things of the world to develop the new medicine. Mr. Wonka tells Charlie that he has searched all over the world and collected special items from the oldest living things like whiskers of ancient cats, teeth of old animals, tail of a 51 years old horse, 36-year-old cat called Crumpets, the tail of a 207-year-old giant rat from Tibet, etc. All these details are given to you in the book on page number 100. You can refer from there. After a long process of boiling, bubbling, mixing, and testing, he produced a small quantity of oily black liquid. He gave 4 drops of it to a 20-year-old volunteer, Oompa Loompa. On taking the medicine, Oompa Loompa began to wrinkle. His hair dropped off and his teeth also started falling out. Soon he became an old man of 75. It was the result of the new invention of Mr. Willy Wonka, which came to be known as Vita Wonk. Now, the conclusion of the story is, having gathered some of the oldest things from as far as Arabia, Tibet, and Peru, Mr. Wonka boiled the contents in a pot in his inventing room. The result of this was a cup full of an oily black liquid. A 21-year-old grew into a 75-year-old wrinkled, toothless human as soon as he consumed 4 drops of the liquid. This is how Mr. Willy Wonka invented a potion to make people age faster, and he called it Vita Wonk. And this is all about the chapter that how the Vita Wonk was invented. Now, let's have a look at the chapter and the reading part. Before you read, you must have the knowledge. Who are the oldest people you know? What are the oldest things you have in your house, in your city, town, or village? How old are they? Have you ever wished that you were older? Have you wished that you could grow up in a hurry? So this is the beginning of the chapter, the invention of Vita Wonk. Mr. Willy Wonka begins by inventing Wonka White, which makes people younger, but Wonka White is too strong, so some people disappear because their age becomes minus. One person actually becomes minus 87, which means he has got to wait 87 years before he can come back. Mr. Willy Wonka must invent a new thing. So this is all about the reading of the chapter along with the word meanings given towards the right side. Act to work means begin to work. Recipe is the instructions for making something. Then we have one more page in which the details of all the things which are collected for the making of the drink are mentioned. So dear students, you all need to read them and learn by heart. In the next page, there are some questions given in the comprehension check. You need to find out the answers on the basis of your reading and understanding of the chapter. Choose the right answer. Mr. Willy Wonka is a crook, an inventor, or a manager. Wonka White makes people older or younger. Mr. Wonka wants to invent a new thing which will make people younger or older. Can anyone's age be a minus number? What does minus 87 mean? Mr. Wonka begins by asking himself 2 questions. What are they? So you need to complete these questions in blanks on the basis of the reading of the chapter. We have one meaning here, tracked down, which means found by something for it. Now, this is the end of the chapter in which it is written, It was fantastic, cried Mr. Wonka. The moment he swallowed it, he began wrinkling and shriveling up all over, and his hairs started dropping off, and his teeth started falling out. And before I knew it, he had suddenly become an old fellow of 75. And thus, my dear Charlie was a friend of Mr. Willy Wonka. So he is addressing him, my dear Charlie, was Vita Wonk invented? So this is all about the chapter. Now let us have a look at the word meanings of the lesson. Set to work means began to work. Recipe means instructions for making something. Fir is a tree with needle-like leaves and cones. Oak, a family of large trees with a hard wood. Cedar is an evergreen tree with hard, red, sweet-smelling wood used for making boxes, pencils, or fences. Pine, an evergreen tree with needle-shaped leaves and cones. Flea is a small insect living on the skin of animals for their blood. Volunteer, one who works on his own will. Rolled up my sleeves means he just got ready for an act. Crumpets is a thick, fat, savory cake with a soft. Tracked down means found by searching for it. Now, what have we learned from the entire chapter? Or the moral of the story? The invention of Vita Wonk is that we shouldn't mess with nature. God has created us in the most perfect way He could. When we play with it like Mr. Wonka did, we may suffer consequences. When he made the first tonic to make people younger, it had side effects and people went invisible. So to reverse, it makes another tonic to make people older. But when he tested it on his volunteers, he sees that his volunteer had turned very old in a blink of an eye. Therefore, we should not play with nature or beauty, as perfection lies in the imperfections, and we must take the life as it comes to us. Now, the textbook in English for class 7, The Invention of Vita Wonk, and let us resolve the back exercises. Here we have question number 1. What trees does Mr. Wonka mention? Which tree does he say lives the longest? How long does this tree live? Where can you find it? So the answers from the textbook are: Mr. Wonka mentioned the Douglas fir, oak, cedar, and bristlecone pine lives the longest. Bristlecone pine lives for over 4,000 years, and one can find them upon the slopes of Wheeler Peak in Nevada, USA. Question 2 is: how many of the oldest living things can you remember from Mr. Wonka's life? Don't look back at the story. Do you think all these things really exist? Or are some of them purely imaginary? The list of some of the oldest living things are the tale of a 51-year-old horse in Arabia, the tale of a 207-year-old giant rat from Tibet, the black teeth of a 97-year-old grimalkin living in a cave on Mount Popocatépetl, the toenail clippings from a 168-year-old Russian farmer called Petrovich Gregorovich, the whiskers of a 36-year-old cat called Crumpets. The things do not exist really. Many of them are imaginary. Question number 3 is: why does Mr. Wonka collect items from the oldest things? Do you think this is the right way to begin his invention? Mr. Wonka collects the items from the oldest things in order to invent a medicine. Vita Wonka to make people older. No, this is not the right way to begin the inventions. What happens to the volunteer who swallows 4 drops of the new invention? What is the name of the invention? The volunteer who swallowed 4 drops of the new invention became old, began wrinkling and shriveling up all over, and his ears started drooping off, and his teeth falling out, and he turned into a fellow of 75. The name of the invention was Vita Wonk. You have some more answers. Answer the questions on the basis of your understanding of the chapter. You have to give very short answers, and long answers. Name the volunteer who swallowed the medicine. Who was Vita Wong? Which tree does Charlie say lives the longest? Who was Charlie? How did Mr. Wonka travel? What was the effect of the medicine? Why does Mr. Wonka collect items from the oldest things? What happened to the volunteer who swallows 4 drops of the new drink? What is the invention of the Vita Wong? What is the theme of the story Invention of Vita Wong? Some long questions which you have to answer with more number of words. What are the objectives of the story, The Invention of Vita Wong? List the key points of the story, The Invention of Vita Wong. Write the summary of part 1 of the story, The Invention of Vita Wong. Write the summary of part 2 of the same story. What kind of oldest things in the story were collected? So dear students, with this, I hope the understanding of the chapter Invention of Vita Wong is clear to you, and you must have enjoyed reading, watching and listening to this video. So do read the chapter again and learn all the word meanings and question answers, and do complete the back exercises in the book. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this video. God bless you.